Oh, how's it going? Coach Todd here. Hey, welcome to the webinar. If you're watching live, well, welcome. If you are watching the replay, well, welcome. Hey, I was just in I was just in California for a triathlon training camp, and we did a race at the end of it. And I raced in the 7.3 distance, which is known as a long course in that event. And I was surprised at how many people I saw just not doing things correctly. And that kind of prompted me to create this webinar just to go over some of the basic rules of triathlon. I think what has happened is people sign up for a triathlon, and you get these athlete handbooks that you're supposed to read and all the rules you're supposed to read. And I don't think people are reading them. They're just signing up, showing up, and then doing the event. And so my hopes of this webinar is to just help educate people who are doing their first triathlon or first relatively early in their triathlon season or years how to race. And so I'm not going to keep you long. I've kept this presentation super simple, and so we're going to get this ball rolling right away. Let me just try to now look. I'm not a technical wizard by no means. By no means. I am a triathlon coach, so if things don't work out, just give me a little bit of grace. That's all I ask. So now I'm going to share screen and then go to the presentation. Let's see if this works. Mhm. So let me go back to this. So it appears to be working, which is good. So you'll see me. Oh, I lost myself. See what I mean? Where did I go? Okay. So who am I? I just put this slide in here because I thought, well, maybe you don't know who I am. So my name is Todd Malcolm. I'm head coach of a triathlon club here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, known as No Limits Triathlon. I've been in the sport since 1992. Yes, that's a very long time. You can do the math on that. Over 100 triathlons. I've stopped counting. I competed in 21 full iron distance events, a bunch of 7.3s. I don't count those. I've raced Hawaii Ironman, 10 Triathlon World Championships, Boston Marathon, blah, 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 blah. Basically, I've done a lot of stuff. I've been in the sport of triathlon a long time. And so that's who is speaking to you today. Now, so this presentation is basically called Triathlon Rules. This picture here was taken from, we were just in California for a training camp, and the race was Wildflower, and it was like the resurrection of this race that has not been around for 7 years, but it used to be one of the biggest triathlon festivals in the world. There used to be up to like 8,000 athletes in one weekend. And it was awesome. I've been here many times, and so I took a bunch of athletes down and I raced. And like I said earlier, I saw a lot of people doing odd things on the race, and I go, what is going on? I know it's been a while since this race has been on, but let's go over some triathlon rules. So let's start with transition setup. So you're setting up your transition. And so what you're going to do when you come into this picture here is a transition area. There's going to be all these racks along the way. And most times your number, so over here, this person's number is 136, it may or may not be marked. And so sometimes there's like a sticker on here, 136. So if you're 136, you'd put your bike right here. At this race, there were no markings, so it's kind of like first come, first serve. But just know that when you go into a triathlon, you may need to rack your bike where your number is. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, you want to set up your bike by attaching your bike to that bar by using your saddle, your seat, or your handlebars. So let's go back. Here are two bikes. This is mine here, the black one, and this is my athlete's Kent's bike. And you can see that we have our bikes racked by the saddle or the seat. There's someone at the door. Let's just see if the dogs will stop barking. Isn't it funny how that happens, right? Okay, so where was I? You can rack your bike either with your saddle or your handlebars. And some races will tell you how you have to do it, whether it's with your saddle or with the handlebars. And this one I think was pretty relaxed with that. My dogs are very excitable and they want to tell everyone that yes, we are in the house and the house is safe. When you're setting up your transition area, you want to put your triathlon gear below your bike or in supplied bags. If you're doing like an Ironman branded race, they'll give you swim to bike bags or bike to run bags, maybe. And if that's the case, you need to put your swim gear into that bag or your bike gear into that bag or the run gear into that bag. This triathlon didn't have bags. So what you would do is you would set up your transition area on the ground. So look at over here. There's a towel down. Someone has their shoes and the bike shoes, and then their running shoes would be there as well. So that's how in this race it would set up. But some races would have bags where you put your swim stuff, your bike stuff, and then your run stuff into the bag so that you can do your transition. Number 4, know the direction of travel in transition, so entry and exit. In this race here, the exit or the entry was way over here. The lake was over here. We would swim and we would enter transition way over here, enter it, run down to your bike, get everything ready for your bike. Then you would take your bike and then you would exit to the far right. So you need to know the direction of travel inside the transition area once it starts. So you got to know, what is the flow going to be like? And I highly encourage you to read the athlete guide of a triathlon that you're about to do. There should be some maps and some arrows showing you the flow that's going to happen. So you want to know the flow of travel. So whenever I go into a triathlon, I want to know how do we enter it from the swim, and then how do we exit it with the bike. And then we need to get back into it once we're completed the bike, we want to know how we get back into it. And there could be multiple entries and exits in a transition, depending on if you're biking or running. But it's something that you need to know. There's also no riding your bike inside the transition. You don't ride your bike in transition. I did see some people riding your bikes. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do this. You can't do this. Now, most triathlons have, officials in transition, enforcing the rules. But in this triathlon, there weren't any. So there's a lot of things that were just, going all over the place. So do not ride your bike in transition. The transition area will close before the race starts. And sometimes they will. So this area here will be completely closed and you can't get back into it. Say if your swim starts at 7 o'clock, they may close transition at 6:30. So that means you need to have your bike racked, you need to have your gear bags ready, or your transition area set up on the ground before 6:30, and they kick everybody out. They do that to keep the transition area safe for everybody. So once the race is on and you're coming into it from the pool or the lake, then it's clear and there's nobody going to be in the way. They did not do this at this race, so it can change. You're going to put your helmet number, and it's a sticker, and you put it on the front. This should say front of your helmet. So your helmet's on your head. You have some stickers, and they go on the front of your helmet. In this race, I saw people with stickers on the back of their helmet. So that makes no sense because no one can see that number unless you're coming up behind them. And then one of my athletes said, "Are you sure their helmet wasn't on backwards?" I'm like, "I don't know. It could have been on backwards." but this helmet sticker goes on the front of your helmet, not on the back. And some races may say, hey, put it on the right or the left-hand side. And they may give you multiple stickers to put on, but just read the rules and find out where to put the sticker on your helmet based on the race. You may also get a bike number, which is a sticker as well. And oftentimes you put this bike number on your seat post or on the top tube of your bike. The top tube is that tube that goes from your handlebars to your seat. So right there, you can stick it on there, or you can put it on your seat post. I like to put it on my seat post. If you go back to this picture here, you can see that I've left, and this is me before, or this is my setup before the race has even started. But you can see that I left my biking shoes attached to the bike. Now, this is an advanced skill. If you go over to this bike over here, you can see that this athlete did not do it. And I believe Kent's white bike, he didn't do it either because he doesn't like to do it. If you want to do that, you have to make sure that the rules of each particular triathlon will allow you to leave your shoes on, or they may need to be off. In this race, it didn't matter, so I left them on. But if you're going to do that, practice that well in advance. Practice it well in advance. We're now going to go to the swimming rules. There's a bunch. I didn't put all the rules down, but put the ones that I think are really quite important. So there's two types of starts that we can do for swimming. There's a mass start, and that's where everybody in the race starts at one time. If there's 200 people, go. Or if there's 1,000 people, they're all together, and then just go. And what normally happens is the faster people in the front, and then it progressively gets slower. Now, there may be signs up with your estimated swim finish time, and you can go towards those signs so that you can seed yourself so that you're not with faster swimmers or slower swimmers, so that should work out. But if you are a fast swimmer, go in the front. If you're a slower swimmer, go to the back. If you're a medium swimmer, go in the middle of the pack. It could also be a pulse start. Many triathlons now are going away from the mass start and using like a pulse start. A pulse start could be where 5 or 10 athletes are starting at once, and every 5 to 10 seconds, a group of people go. So, 5 people would go. 5 seconds later, 5 more, and then 5 more, and 5 more. What that does is spreads out the field. And that's kind of a nice way to do it. Number 2, know the course. Is a course, it's going to be marked with buoys. So there's going to be a bunch of buoys in the lake, and you need to know what direction are you swimming. And know this before you start. You don't want to get to the start of the swim and go, where am I going? And you have no clue. So know in advance, is it a clockwise swim? Is it a counterclockwise swim? Are there multiple number of loops I have to do? So know the course. Like I said before, typically the faster swimmers will go first. They do that so that if the slower swimmers went first, they would get swum over by the faster swimmers. So it makes more sense to put the faster swimmers first. And if you are a fast swimmer and it's a mass start, then put yourself near the front of the field. And if you're slower, go near the back. Follow the buoys. Like I said, the swim course is going to be marked with buoys. And say if it's a clockwise course, so we're going this direction, you want to keep the buoys on the right of your shoulder. If it's a counterclockwise swim, you want to keep the buoys on the left of your shoulder. And you want to come as close to the buoys as you feel comfortable. Really, you don't want to swim extra distance in the triathlon. So I try to swim as close to the buoys as possible. However, what happens is, when you're by the buoys, they can get congested with a lot of athletes. So if you go a little bit wider, you can have more free water for doing your swim. It's a little bit more easy. If you find that you're in the swim, like in the lake or the ocean, and you find that you need a little bit of help, you can definitely ask for help. You can ask for help. There's people on surfboards, there's people on boats, and there'll be lifeguards out there, all different areas, right, to help. Basically, what you do is you just wave your hand and they can come and help you. The whole idea with getting help is that you can get help 100% as long as you're not making forward progress in the course or not intentionally, right? So you can hang onto someone's surfboard or their stand-up paddleboard or whatever they're on, so that you can take a little bit of break, and then you can keep going forward. So remember, if you need help, ask for help. And you can take a break without asking for help. Say if you start the swim and you go, oh man, I started too fast, you can definitely slow down and you can stop. If you're going to stop, I recommend you to get out of the way of the course. So just move, swim to the left or swim to the right. Take a little break, do a little bit of sculling to catch your breath, and then get back into the race. But you can totally do that. You can use any type of swim stroke. You can use front crawl, you can use backstroke, you can use breaststroke. Whatever you want to do, you can do. You will need to use the race swim cap that is supplied. So I don't know if you can see this, but I've got a bunch of swim caps here. And so for this race here, it was green. And sometimes I'll put your number on it. So you need to use the provided swim cap. If you don't swim with a swim cap, I'd recommend you wear it sometimes so you get comfortable. And it feels a little bit different swimming with a swim cap, so just try it out. You are not allowed to wear fins, paddles, or anything that gives you extra flotation device, right? So those, what are those shorts called? Like neoprene shorts. If you use those when you're swimming in a pool, you can't use those in a race if it's a non-wetsuit swim, because that would be breaking the rules. If it is if the water is cold enough, so you can wear a wetsuit up to 24.5 degrees Celsius. If you're American, and you can convert that yourself using Fahrenheit. But those are typically the rules for swimming. Now let's move on to transition. So after you've completed your swim, you went out there, you've done your swim, and then you get out of the water. You run through transition. You need to know where the entryway into transition. It's usually pretty simple because you just follow people ahead of you. However, if you're the first person, you kind of need to know where to go. And so you just follow the flow of the race. It should be set up pretty good. And oftentimes you are fenced in so that other people can't come in. It's just for athletes. Now, note here, do not touch your bike until your helmet is on. So you take your helmet, put it on, buckle it up, and once it's buckled up, then you can touch your bike. But you're not supposed to touch your bike until your helmet is on and buckled up. And there is no nakedness, there's no nudity in transition. Number 3, race number. Once you're on your bike, it may need to be on. And this is really race specific. Some races say you need to have it on, and some races say you don't, because you have a number on your helmet, so you don't really need it. And if that's the case, if the race says you need to have your number on, then you can put it on the back. And what most people use is a race belt, like this, right? And what you do is you put your number on this belt, and then you can just take it and turn it to the back for the bike, and then you turn it around for the front for the run. So a race belt is really handy to wear your race number. And so, yeah, if you're running, you want to have it on the front. So you go to the transition area, right? You put on your helmet. If you're going to put your bike shoes on, put on your bike shoes, or you put on any bike clothing. You put that on. Obviously, put that on before you put your helmet on, because it's difficult to put something over your head with a helmet on. Once you're ready to go, do not mount your bike until you cross the mount line. All transition areas will have what is known as a mount line. And what you need to do is you need to walk or run your bike across the mount line. And once you're across that, then you can hop on the bike and then you can start going. Now, this is a really good tip for if you're in a big race with hundreds or thousands of people. This area can get really congested, and it can be just a bit of a nightmare, people hopping on and falling off their bikes. So what I do is once you come to the mountain line, you run across it, and then you run like 8 or 10 feet past it. And then, because everyone else behind you trying to get on, you run past everybody, get on the bike, and then off you go. Now, remember, there is no outside assistance from friends or family unless they're volunteers in the race. So those are the transition rules. Let's move on now to the bike rules. You can use any type of bike that you want. You want to use a road bike, you want to use a mountain bike, you want to use a gravel bike, a triathlon bike, whatever. If it's got two wheels, go ahead and use that bike. You must wear an approved helmet. I believe most helmets these days are going to be an approved helmet. The races used to do a helmet check to make sure it is safe. That doesn't really happen anymore. So most helmets that you buy are going to be an approved helmet. There is no drafting in most triathlons, and that means there's going to be like a 10 to 12 meters between you and the person ahead of you, and between you and the person behind you. And that is about a bus length in length. Okay, so that's kind of what that's all about. We could go into the drafting a bit. Say if you're doing this, it really comes into like an Ironman event. They're stricter on drafting in those events than other events. But what happens is, say if, how can I show you this? Let's just say you are biking, right? And you're coming up on someone who's slower, right? And you're getting closer and closer and closer to them. So that's 10 to 12 meter gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're just about to pass this person. Now, what happens is once your front wheel passes that athlete, they have to now drop back behind you within 15 seconds. If they don't do that, then they will be drafting. So not only do you have, I think you have like 30 seconds to pass someone. If you get in between this, in the middle of this 10 to 12 meter zone, you have that amount of time to pass someone. You have to be physically making this pass. Otherwise, you will be called for a drafting penalty. Now, once you pass someone, again, it's up to the person you just passed to drop back. It's a little bit tricky. It can be a little stressful, but that is the drafting rule. Number 4, when you're racing, now this is for North America, stay on the far right-hand side of the road because we drive or bike on the right-hand side, right? And so when you're racing, you want to stay on the far right-hand side and no blocking. So I saw a lot of this happening at the race in California is people were riding on the left-hand side of the road or the left-hand side of the right-hand side, if that makes sense, right? And so you got the center line, but they were right there. So they're on the far left side of that right line, that right lane. And that is known as blocking. So you don't want to block. And the other rule is you only want to pass on the left side. So if you're already far left in that lane, then I can't physically pass you unless I cross the middle line. And that is another rule that you cannot cross the middle line. So when you're biking, pay attention here. When you're biking, stay to the far right of that lane. And the only time you go left is maybe a couple times is if there's an obstacle in the way, if it's a hole or a pothole, you want to go around it, go left. Or if you're going to pass someone in front of you, you go left, pass the athlete, and then move back over to the far right. That's really important. I saw a lot of athletes not doing this. So you want to stay far right when you're biking. Pass only on the left-hand side, and do not cross the middle line. As you are passing, now this is not really a rule, but this is just something that's kind of nice bike or triathlon etiquette. That say if I'm going to pass someone, I might say, hey, on your left. What that does is it just tells the person ahead of me, oh, there's somebody coming. In case they somehow swerve to the left, then we avoid having a crash. If you are going to pass or go to the left, I encourage everyone to just do a shoulder check. Just like if you're driving a car, you're not going to just go to the left without looking over to the left. So shoulder check when you're biking. When we're biking, there are no phones, no GoPros attached to your bike. There are no cameras, and there's no headphones on your bike. Okay? Keep all your devices in your car. You don't need them when you're racing. Do not litter. So if you're having a gel or a bar or something, don't just toss it when you're done with it. Only toss your garbage at aid stations. If you toss the garbage at other spots along the course outside of an aid station, you could get a penalty. Now note that during the bike, you may have a designated time to finish it. So that would be known as a time cutoff. So for example, maybe you have 4 hours to complete the bike. That's something you need to be aware of. So say if you're going to finish in 4:15, you will not be officially finishing the bike and they will pull you off the course. So be aware of any time cutoffs that may be in the race so that you can continue on with the race. And those are the bike rules. Let's move on now to transition two rules. So you finished your bike, you're coming back into transition. We were watching, like I said, we're just watching this because we're waiting for athletes to come in California. And it was just comical to watch athletes coming in so fast to transition. So this is not a rule, but when you come into transition, just slow down. Just slow down so that you can safely get off your bike. And you want to dismount your bike before the dismount line. And we saw people just rolling and riding right in the transition area. You cannot do that. You need to get off your bike before the dismount line. If you don't, you will get a penalty. Once after you get off the bike, so you're dismounting before the line, then you're going to run or walk your bike to the transition area and to your specific area in transition that has your number and all your stuff on the ground, right? Then what you do is you rack your bike. And once your bike is racked, then you can take off your helmet. But don't undo your buckle of your helmet until your bike is completely racked. And we saw people taking off their helmets before the bike was racked. And that would totally be a penalty. Now, the transition two. So once you've racked your bike, you've changed from your bike gear into your running gear. You want to know where the exit is. So you're going to run to transition exit so that you can start your run. Now, let's move on now to the run rules. Typically, you want to have your number on your front. So if you're wearing one of those race belts and you have the number on your back, then you just turn it over or you just move it to the front so it's in the front. You want to have your torsos covered up. So you don't want to be running shirtless, right? Or topless. You want to have your torsos covered up. Only pee or go to the washroom at porta potties or aid stations. That may sound silly, but that's how it is. Like if you're doing this in a community, you don't want athletes, peeing on people's lawns, right? So you want to only go to the bathroom at aid stations. Along the course, friends, family, and coaches are not allowed to run with you unless they're racing too. If they're racing with you, then of course they can run with you. But if they're not, they're just on the sideline cheering with you. They're not supposed to be running with you to give you a little bit of help. You're not supposed to do that. And you cannot give things to people outside of the race. Say if you're doing a bike ride, the race, and you had a jacket on, and you want to take that jacket and give it to your friends, family, or coaches along the course because it's hot. Hey, here you go, man. Just take this for me. I'll get it later. You're not supposed to do that. That is, again, outside assistance. You should not do that. If you want to do that, you have to give it to someone at an aid station who's a volunteer. Again, there are no headphones when you're running. I know a lot of people these days love running with headphones. However, in a triathlon, there is a no headphone rule. Know the course. Look at the course beforehand and have some sort of mental idea of where you're going. Are there multiple loops? What direction of travel is it? Don't just assume that once you get there, it's all going to be laid out. Please take some time in advance to know the course. And just like the swimming and biking and running, there may be a time cutoff. So just be aware of that. Even though you've finished the event, you may not be an official finisher because you were too slow. So just be aware of that there may be time cutoffs throughout this. And on some bigger races, like if you're doing a marathon and you don't make a certain point or distance by a certain time, they will pull you off the course. So that's it. Those are the triathlon rules. You know what? I really hope that you learned something from this. Now remember, like I put this last slide in here is just to have fun. These rules are here for us to be safe, to keep us safe, and keep other athletes safe. And when I was doing the event, it was very interesting to see people not following the rules. But I really believe it's probably because they didn't know the rules. Let me just turn this screen share off. Like, I really believe they just didn't know the rules. So what I wanted to do in this webinar was to just highlight some of the rules that are really important in the race so that when you go to your next event, you can say, hey, you know what? I watched the rules. And I part of me would like to see, and maybe if you're a race director or something, all you have to do is put together a very short video that go over the rules, and each athlete needs to watch this so that they can know what the rules are in each event. So, hey, thank you very much for hanging out with me today and learning, and my dogs that are still barking. But hey, I encourage you to follow these rules, sign up for your next race, and have fun. Hey, that's it. I'm Coach Todd. You can follow me online at No Limits Coach on Instagram and No Limits Try on Facebook. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you go to nolimitstriathlon.com, and then we can figure something out if you have any specific questions. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you found it informative, and I hope that you have a heck of a lot of fun in this wonderful sport of triathlon. And yes, there are rules, but once you follow them, it can be a really a wonderful experience. I've been in the sport, again, like I said, since 1992, and I just love it. So welcome to the sport of triathlon, and I hope you have a wonderful time and you stay here a long time. See you later. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.